Hello and welcome to my channel Adam and Leave. My name is Adam, I'm from the UK but I live in Singapore now. Thanks to everyone who's been watching my recent videos. If you're enjoying the content, please do hit the subscribe button and also the like button. It really does help the channel out. And if you want even more content, I'm also on Instagram as well. It's a bit more arty-farty over there, but if you want to check it out, please do join my Instagram feed as well. Now today, we're going to be talking about some of the pros and the cons of spending the coronavirus pandemic here in Singapore. I've been here pretty much since COVID got underway, and there are lots of pros, but there are also lots of cons as well. Now, I also want to hear off you. I want to hear about some of the good things about spending COVID in your country and some of the not so good things about spending COVID in the place that you currently are. And if you are in Singapore, let me know if you agree or disagree with my thoughts on COVID in Singapore. Right then, so we'll start with the good stuff. We're going to start with the 5 pros of being in Singapore during COVID-19. Number 1, life has returned to normal a lot quicker than other parts of the world. Now, I'm not going to go out and say that it's absolutely normal here. You still have to wear masks, you still have to check in everywhere, there's still restrictions, but it's a lot better than many places at the moment. So take this example. It was my birthday a couple of weeks ago. I went out for some drinks with some friends, took a photo, put it on my Instagram, and the amount of comments I got from friends back in the UK who were like, wow, you're at a bar, you're out for drinks. They felt like it was another world away. So actually, just to be able to go to the cinema, go to a restaurant, go to a bar, go to a tourist attraction, go to a theme park, whatever it is, we are very lucky to be able to do that here in Singapore, which is great. Number 2, people follow the rules here, which has resulted in things feeling pretty safe indeed. Now, the government have been pretty strict. They have fined people if they've broke the rules, which has resulted in most people following the rules. Everyone is wearing their masks. People are adhering to the social distancing rules, the group sizes, and therefore it feels pretty safe. I feel like I can go out and be pretty confident that I'm not going to catch this virus, which is a lot more that can be said for other parts in the world. Back in the UK, for example, some of my family members are vulnerable and they've pretty much spent an entire year in their house because they know if they go out, they're probably going to catch the disease. But here, it feels a lot safer. The numbers are pretty low still, and it's just resulted in just being quite calm and relaxed about the situation, which again is a great thing. Number 3, bit of a silly one, but the weather. The weather is great here. You know, all year round, it's hot, a lot of sun, a lot of vitamin D. It just makes you feel good. If you're going to be in a place for a prolonged period of time, you may as well have good weather, right? I know a lot of people are in lockdowns at the moment in, terrible, dark, cold, wet, wintry days. So just to be here in the sun all year round is actually a massive plus at the moment. Psychologically, it's a huge boost as well, and I'm very grateful for the tropical Singapore weather. Number 4, being in Singapore for almost a year straight without leaving has actually given me a great opportunity to explore the island, to go out and see parts of the island that maybe I wouldn't have seen. I've spoken to lots of people who've lived here for a number of years, and they said before COVID, they would travel loads. They would be away every single weekend. They'd be off to different parts of Asia. And don't get me wrong, when I thought about moving here, I did think I was going to do loads of traveling and get out and about and have a great time. Obviously, that's not happened now, but it's allowed me to see loads of Singapore. I've been to the north, the far east, the west of the island. I've seen the heartlands. I've seen loads of stuff that I wouldn't usually see. So that actually is a massive plus. And number 5, a bit of a naughty one, but being here during COVID has allowed me to feel just a little bit smug. You know, loads of people are in horrible situations. Loads of my old friends and family back in the UK are really horrendous situation at the moment. And I'm here in the sun. Life is pretty much back to normal. We didn't have that long a lockdown. You can feel a little bit smug about your decision making, and I feel like that at the moment. I feel like you kind of get to a place where it's the right place at the right time, and at the moment that does seem to be this part of the world. So sorry guys, but yeah, can feel a little bit smug. Right, now for 5 not so good reasons why spending COVID even in Singapore hasn't been so great. These are some of the cons. The first one is sorry guys, but Singapore is so small. If you take a look at this map here, the outside is London, the inside is Singapore. That gives you an idea of how small the place is. I moved here from London and I'm a little bit like, wow, it's pretty small here. And if you're going to be somewhere for a prolonged period of time, I'm coming up to a year here now without leaving, you can start to go a little bit stir crazy. So I wouldn't mind being in a country that is slightly bigger. There's no real such thing as going on a road trip in Singapore, put it that way. Number two, I think here in Singapore, we are going to be in this for the long haul. It's going to be a long time before these restrictions go, even once everyone on the island is vaccinated. Now, don't get me wrong, I want things to be done properly, and if they're done properly, it keeps people safe, and that's why we have all this freedom at the moment. But I do think other parts of the world are going to be a lot more cavalier in letting people be free once the vaccinations are well and truly kicked in. Whereas in Singapore, I think they're going to be very, very cautious and take a long time. Now, you know, there's pros and cons to that, but just psychologically, it feels like this is going to be a long time. And for people like me who would like to go and see their family at some point, that is feeling a long way away as well. So yeah, that has been a little bit of a struggle. Number three, Singapore has felt a lot stricter than it normally would. I've spoken to people who lived here before COVID, and they said, yeah, they knew there were rules, and everyone talks about Singapore being a fine city because there's lots of fines, but they really have felt it during this pandemic. It's quite strict, and you know that if you break the rules, you risk losing your employment pass as a foreigner here, or you risk a big fine. So it has felt strict. It's felt very regulated. We have to check in everywhere. You feel like your movement's being traced. You feel like you really are scared of breaking the rules. So that's kind of difficult because, you know, we're all used to freedom, and suddenly feeling very oppressive is quite a difficult adjustment to make. But look, this is not unique to Singapore. Loads of places are like this. Everyone's lost their freedoms. But yeah, it felt a lot stricter than it normally would here. Okay, number four is me being a little bit nitpicking, but they're not showing sport in bars. And as a huge sport fan, I found that quite sad. I love going to a bar or a restaurant or a cafe or a pub, getting a drink and just watching some live sport. But under the COVID regulations, that is not allowed. To be fair, I feel like if everyone sat at a table in the right group size, there's nothing wrong with having a bit of sport on TV, but apparently not. So I've missed out on that because, you know, it's just not the same watching at home for me. And number five, and perhaps the biggest con of them all, is the fact that I just really miss my friends and my family back in the UK. Physically, I'm a long way away from them at the moment, but also mentally, I feel a long way away from them. And that's probably because I know it's going to be a long old time before I can go back. Right now, if I went to the UK, I wouldn't be able to come back to Singapore because of this new variant. I'd have to go to another country, wait there for a couple of weeks, and then come here and then do 2 weeks quarantine in a hotel room. So it feels like a long, long road before I'm going to get to see my family and my friends again. Now, yeah, absolutely hypocrite warning. I moved here. I chose to move here. I moved here right at the start of COVID, so I knew what I was letting myself in for. But I guess at that time, none of us really thought that this was going to be going on for so long. And it is, and yeah, it's pretty difficult. Obviously, technology is amazing, and I can keep up with people very easily now, but it just isn't quite the same. So yeah, that's probably the biggest con of them all. So I'd love to know what you think. What's it like in your country at the moment? What are the pros and the cons of being where you are at the moment? And if you are in Singapore, what do you think of what I've said? Do you agree or disagree? And do you have any more pros or any more cons of being here during these very, very strange times?